The bridge that was there in the 1840s. So here's the story. When they came down here to try to develop canal side, use the water for tourism, they discovered that that was the western terminus of the Erie Canal because it had been covered over in 1918, and the western terminus now is up in Tonawanda. So when they reached into the dirt there, they found where it ended. So rather than just fill it in, they actually left it as it was, historically, preserved it. And that bridge was built so you could see what it was like at that time period. Now what's also interesting, there's that boat, the Seneca Chief. You see a yellow boat there? Yes, that's the one they're building right there in that shed that says Buffalo. So they built it for over a year. It's an exact replica of boats that used to ply the Erie Canal. So that'll give you an idea of the size of the boats in the 1840s and 50s. Now, a boat like that, like Captain Greg said, the bridges are so low that people, passengers, would actually sit on top. And they'd say low bridge, they have to either get down or get off. Now, we're going to go under a bridge and have this very similar experience, so it's kind of cool. But, a couple other things to point out. There is a boat right there called Spirit of Buffalo. That was the first boat to come down here to promote tourism. How do I know? Because that's the same family that owns this boat. So we're a Buffalo-based, family-owned business, which is really cool. They believe in Buffalo. They're the very first people to come down here, so the Hillmans have a history here. That boat, the reason they had it like that, if you haven't been on the Spirit, go on it. It's a really cool ride. This is a smooth ride, that's a sailboat ride. But in our story, it figures in very prominently because what happened was we were 13 colonies and eventually we became 13 states. Now, because I have a boatload of teachers, what did we purchase in the 1800s to double the size of the country? The Louisiana's Purchase. Thank God I didn't have all math teachers, right? All right, who teaches history here? Okay, I somebody here. And the way they said it's so rude. Louisiana Purchase. I've said this a billion times. All right, so you know what happened. We more than doubled the size of the country, right? It's always nice when you see helicopters out on the water. You get a much better view. So the size of the country now doubles. So what's the problem? How do you get grain and all that material effectively from currently our Midwest, which was then our West? So how do you get all that material and people moved around? What they would do, this is really difficult, is they'd take all these crops they had, grain and everything, they'd load it on barges, float it all the way down the Mississippi River to New Orleans. Then they would unload it onto boats like our Spirit of Buffalo, sail it through the Gulf of Mexico and up the eastern seaboard. Now, the primary ports at that time was not New York. It was Philadelphia and Boston. So those are the primary ports. So it might take months to get there. Conversely, if you wanted to get goods from New York City to Buffalo, New York, it would take 6, 7, 8 weeks. There were no highways. There was no throughway or anything like that. Now, because you're history teachers, what's a corduroy road? Aha! Didn't teach that one all the time, did you? A corduroy road is where you take a log, you cut it in half, and the round part is up. And so your wagon goes bumping along. So when you go by Broadway and Union, in front of the Tinkwater Town Hall, there's a sign there. It says toll road. There actually was an actual toll road there. So if you got goods and materials from New York City, you go through all these paths. It would take 7 or 8 weeks to get here. It cost over $100 a ton. So various people come up with ideas. Hey, let's build a canal from Mississippi River to Philadelphia. Why is that a bad idea? Tons of mountains, right? So then other people get ideas like, the Hudson River's right there. Here's New York City. How about if we just went just across New York State? That's sort of flat, right? So, that's a pretty good idea. So the former mayor of New York City, he gets this idea, and he says, that's good. I like that. He would click. He goes, I'm going to run for governor, and I'm going to try to get this canal built across the state. In Buffalo here, there's a man, Samuel Wilkinson, who also agrees that's a great idea. He goes, I'll help develop this body of water. Back in the 1800s, this was the Buffalo Creek. It was about 25 feet wide, about 3 foot deep. So Samuel Wilkinson did a lot of work, didn't he? Eventually. So it starts out small. So they start developing the canal to end here because we're competing with Black Rock. Black Rock is just up the river. There's a problem with Black Rock. One, it's a half a mile away from Canada. Later, this will be advantageous for us in Buffalo, but at the time, because it's so close to a British colony, that's a problem. Mostly because the British came here in 1812 and burned the place down. So they decide, we don't want to be close there, we'd rather be here in Buffalo. So Whitcliffe runs for governor. He's elected and sworn in on the 3rd of July. And when do they start building the canal? The 4th of July. So here's the enormity of the task. It's going to be 363 miles across the state. It's going to be 40 feet wide and 4 feet deep. So that's how small it's going to be to start. So they do start digging, and they use local talent. In other words, anybody they could get. And they start digging by hand. And soon they discover this is going to take a long, long time. So to get increased help, they go back to the old countries. England, Ireland, Germany in particular. And they bring these migrants over here, and they start digging the canal. Now, to incent these people to get the canal done, they put out a big cask of whiskey every 8 miles. Everyone know why they put that big cask of whiskey out there? I already told you I'm English-Irish.
Incentive.
Incentive, wow. How? Why would that be an incentive?
Because when you got there, you got to drink the barrel.
You got there, you got to drink the barrel. That's part of the answer. The other part is this. They didn't have extra strength Tylenol. So if you had a backache, the whiskey better be working.
Oh.
And that's why it was there. No one has ever said in all my years doing it, I gotta tell you this, that like I'll tell people I'm English Irish, I'll say there's a cask of whiskey. No one's ever said because they're Irish. Which is obvious, and I know you're thinking it, but that's right. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. So no, they have it. And so what happens is they do start this in 1817. In 1825, they complete the canal. Oh, that's awesome. It's all done. It's a really good thing. So what happens is we bring a lot of people here to Buffalo. Anyone here from South Buffalo? Brilliant. Because I'm going to add a little trivia for you. In South Buffalo, you'll see a lot of 3-story homes. On the 3rd story in particular, there'll be less windows and smaller, and there might be a few bedrooms there, right? Because what happened is when all these Irish and English migrants came over, first the men would come over, then they'd bring their spouses or loved ones, generally women. So what would happen is these women would take on jobs in homes, and they would be domestic servants. So it's very common, particularly in South Buffalo, to have that 3rd floor would be where the domestic servants would live. So on a man's shirt, you can tell the difference. It buttons on one side. Do you know why a woman's shirt buttons on the other side? Because it's easier for a person that's going to button a shirt to have it on the other side. So that's why women's shirts button on one side and men's button on the other. That's why homes in South Buffalo will have that predominant extra storage and rooms up there. So not only do you get immigrants that are men, you also bring all the women here to Buffalo. So the city starts to grow. What happens is, once the canal is completed, 1825, great. Now come all the boats. Now comes the problem. We dug the canal, we did it on time and under budget because we didn't have any professional engineers. We were winging it, and we weren't going to ask the British for obvious reasons, but we do complete it. So in 1825, all the boats line up, we got tons of them here, and what problem do we have? Nobody figured out how to unload the dumb things. So the boats all line up, because those same people that dug by hand, now we're asking them to put a bushel or so of wheat on their back, walk up to the top, and dump it out. It takes over 3 weeks to unload a boat. So the boats it's just not working. Everything's jammed up. After 2 years, an individual, his name is Joseph Dart, comes up with an idea. I'm going to invent what he calls a marine tower, marine leg. It's going to be a conveyor belt. Like an elephant's trunk goes into the bottom of the boat. They'll have a conveyor with buckets. They'll take all the grain to the very top of the grain silo and dump it in. And it works. And now these boats are unloaded in hours, 3 to 6 hours. So what happens is Buffalo really booms. We become the busiest grain port in the world. So everything's good for us. What happens is, and we're going to see one right on our right pretty soon, we ended up with 60 of these different grain silos here, storage silos. of which there's 14 left standing and 4 left working. Now, if you live in Buffalo, New York, when you're on the thruway, you can smell something, and that's generally Cheerios. Cheerios comes here in 1941. They have a product called Cheery Oats. Quaker Oats doesn't like that name, so they decide on Cheerios. And they make Cheerios here. I know they're making Cheerios because I could see the white smoke there. When you drive on the expressway, or the thruway, let's see if we can get that. Just right there. They make Cheerios, right? What's the #1 brand of cereal in the United States more than 7 years in a row? #1 brand, #1 flavor?
Cheerios.
What kind of Cheerios?
Regular, right?
Not regular. Honey Nut. Honey Nuts have it.
Okay.
All right. Honey Nut. Now, any cereal you get that says EU on the top, EU left, that will be made right here. So, they've been here for a long time, very successful. They also have a really brilliant plan. A friend of mine works there. They have what's called family days. Twice a year, you can buy 10 boxes of cereal for $10. I'm all set for Honey Nuts for a long time because I just got my 10th box. We're going to come up right here and we're going to see on our left the Edward M. Potter. That is the oldest actual working fireboat in the world. It was built in 1900. So that can shoot water 125 feet in the air. And what's the significance of that? Why did they pick 125 feet?
Size of the grain silos?
That's the top of the grain silos. Perfect answer. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go under this low bridge, all right? You need to stay down. You can't touch anything, but if you want to take a picture, that's always cool. So I'm going to tell the captain we're ready to go under, and we are. So we're going to go under the Michigan Avenue Bridge. This will figure dominantly in one of our stories later. It's an open bridge, so you can look up and see cars as they go under. We're going under. As you can see, it's fairly close. I know. You know, I'll tell you, I don't know what your view in your office is, but that's mine, and it never gets boring. All right, let's look at our right side over here. This facility, with the dirty-looking silo, is St. Mary's Cement. It used to be a linseed oil facility years ago. They tore it down, and now they store cement here. But now, because of the stadium, this place is rocking along to another place. So, what's really kind of cool about it, there's this dirty kind of silo here. If you look to the left, that one's much cleaner, isn't it? Now, if you're looking, a lot of you are going to be off for the summer, right? Probably looking to do a little exercise, get outside, do a little running and stuff. Yeah, just a spot for you. Between those two silos, see that spiral staircase? If you'd like a little exercise, as one individual has to do, once a week they have to go all the way up to the top and drop down a leaded weight to see how much material is in each one of those. So if you're looking for something to do, January is pretty good, wide open. You can exercise there. Now the next thing is, we had a lot of different grain silos here. There used to be one right in the area we're at, called Grain League Federation, GLF. It went out of business, and Riverworks came here. Now what's cool about Riverworks is you can play hockey here, do curling, all in this facility. They were the first restaurant business to come down to the water right here. So what you'll see is there's a restaurant. Anyone ride those small tiki boats? You can ride that. For those of you who haven't, let me tell you a story about it. They have smaller tiki boats, unlike this one. You don't get a knife, no orange there. You can bring your own booze. You can bring your own food. The captain on that boat will go up and down and not say a word. And if there's any water, you'll get your feet wet. How do I know? My mother-in-law bought my wife and I tickets. She thought I'd enjoy a trip on the water. What's the difference between in-laws and outlaws? Outlaws aren't wanted. But it's, yeah, you can take any one of these. The other thing that you'll see is here, we have a 6-pack of Labatt's Blue. This used to be part of a grain elevator. Now we do have a deposit law in the city. If you get that in your minivan, you'll probably get more than a nickel. They do actually brew their own craft beer here. All right, world travelers, who's been to Stonehenge? Stonehenge? Right? For those of you who haven't, go right here to Beerhenge. You need to go as far. And if you drink it up, it'll look just like Stonehenge. Also, we have on top of it a Ferris wheel, and one of my favorite things of all time is there's a double-decker bus. Best seat on a double-decker bus is on the top front. You know why? There's no hood in front of you, so when you're on it, you swear to God you're going to pile right into the vehicle in front of you. So this facility was vacant for years until Riverworks came down here. So now you can rent kayaks, the whole bit. It's a nice space by the water. We're going to cover a little bit of Buffalo history now, and also going to cover a little bit of geography. On our right side, there's a building. It has the letters ADM, Archer Daniel Midland. I always ask this question: who here has been to Odessa, Texas, or Midland, Texas? Nobody, but me. And let me tell you, who knows about Friday Night Lights then? All right, Friday Night Lights is a football movie series. It's about football in Texas. I've been there. They have a 28,000 seat arena for high school football. You know how you get season tickets? Wait for someone to die and you ask their family to get them. It's impossible to get tickets. When I look at this Archer Daniel Midland, it's always what I think about. Archer Daniel Midland makes flour. They make a ton of flour. Now, if you look to either side of it, there is not a grain silo storage facility. There's no silos, right? So they make flour here. They store their grain further upriver, and I will show you where it is. But for the meantime, by telling you, and I know this is a teacher trick, you know, I tied you to Archer Daniel Midland to Midland, Texas, so that will ingrain a story part to you. So we're going to do that with something else. But in the meantime, do you see that building up in the corner that has a P with a circle? What does that stand for? Who said Parina? That's a pretty good guess, actually. Not right, but pretty good. Well, who said parking? All right. Generally, my Toronto guests always say parking. They say, hey, I'd pay $50 to park there. Now, that's for Pillsbury. Pillsbury is there. Okay. Now, what's really cool about that building, it's on Ganson Street. And why is that significant? Because Ganson Street was like the first street in the country to have electric power. Because as you know, electricity's in Niagara Falls. So Edison and Tesla had a contest, which one should we use? So eventually, they decided to pick the Tesla method. And that's huge because in 1897, they actually installed electricity. So where grain silos had been made out of wood, coal fire, it was very explosive. Now, if you have electricity, some of that danger goes away. So it's on the river here. So 1897 they have it. The other reason that's huge, because in 1901, Buffalo has the Pan American Exposition, and that's why they're trying electricity out. So another trivia contest for you. Right in Niagara Square, you'll see McKinley's monument, and they have lions there. What does lion signify?
Yeah. Got me.
Strength, bravery, something like that. Okay, and I also have turtles in there. What do turtles signify? Anyone know? It's like eternity, longevity, because they're slow moving, they live a long time. I often wonder that, like, why would McKinley want turtles, right? So, all right, let's look to our left. Who here has been to Frank Lloyd Wright House in Buffalo? Who here has been to Falling Water? I'm so jealous right now. I have yet to do that. All right, this was inspired. Frank Lloyd Wright had nothing to do with this, but I'm sure it inspired his architecture. There used to be a building here. There was a storage facility that was torn down. So when they rebuilt it, if you look how the ground is, it's horizontal, like the water. If you look above the doors, it's kind of mimics what a silo would look like, right? The cool part is, in your home, like in my home, there's probably rectangular or square windows that you know which room it is. Here we have the windows continuous, and at the corner, they're at a 90-degree angle. That's called a ribbon of light. If you've been to Great Cliff down in Angola, what they did for Mrs. Martin is they did that same effect because she had poor eyesight and that put more light in the building. So in this building, that mimics that Frank Lloyd Wright is. The only reason I know that is my cousin's an architect and we went to high school together, and all through college he dragged me every Frank Lloyd Wright thing there was in the world. So he took this tour, he goes like, yeah, that dude copied everything, no doubt about it, you know. But Frank Lloyd Wright had nothing to do with this building. Who's been to Darwin Martin House? All right, cool. Well, I keep tours out there too. For those of you that haven't been to Darwin Martin House, you can actually walk the ground for free. You don't even have to buy a ticket. It's open all the time. So we're going to pass another facility that is working. This is another cement facility. This is Lafarge Cement. Now, we're touring on the river here all by ourselves. In our heyday, 5,000 boats, huge boats a month would be on this body of water. So what happens now in the Buffalo River, if you want to go up to say Lafarge, you've got a huge boat, you either pull in by yourself or a tugboat pulls you up. It'll moor along the side here and it'll load cement to this facility. Because of the stadium we're building in Buffalo, these places are cranking right now. They're super, super busy. So we're going to go under this bridge, same rules apply, stay down, and on the other side, you're going to hear some noise and it's showing some different sites. You guys got any questions so far? Can you hear all right and everything? Up, further. Is that better? I'm sorry, I'm old and deaf too. I couldn't hear you. But... All right. Great, can I get just a little more volume, please? I got this right out my mouth. All right, is that better? All right, good. Tell me, because sometimes this moves around. All right, now this bridge was just redone a little while ago, so this is a newer bridge. You guys are teachers, so you'll appreciate this. I'll tell you what happened on the other side. And we're good to go under. This was just done about a year ago. You guys can talk when we're under here. You can do that. There you go, low bridge, everybody. Yeah, I mean, particularly by that light, it's really low. All right, there's some noise going on the left. On the way back, I will explain to you what that noise is. That's really important in our story. But for right now, we're just going to pass on by it. There's that cooling breeze. Now that feels better, doesn't it? It'll get windier up here. All right, on the right side, this screen over here, this was called the electric elevator. And what happened is this was also one of the first facilities to actually use electricity. So behind it actually was a storage. This was just a veneer. That's been empty for years. Now, in Buffalo, we had a lot of flour mills, but we also had a lot of breweries, right? Over 29 breweries. And breweries require malt. So we're going to pass a facility right here called American Malting Company. Now, they used to make malt here, and for years it sat vacant, and now they have apartments that are going here. You can see on the very top, it has like a sunroof on there. So we're going to have homes right here. It was supposed to be started to rent soon, but it hasn't quite yet. So if you're raising children, wouldn't this be a great spot to raise kids? That's right. You got something to climb on, something to swim in. What could you ask for? No, they're going after single couples. Now, I always do this to people. What's the name of that fish? Flounder. No, everybody thinks it's flounder, and you won't take it as an adult idea. No, that fish's name is Brian Soupy Campbell. He played defense for the Buffalo Sabres, traded to Chicago, assisted on the winning goal for the Stanley Cup. Now that's much more memorable, right? And that's also Russell Milling. That became Peavy Milling, which became the place my father, brother, and I worked. What about flounder? Everyone see that piece of graffiti? That just means feel good about yourself. Now, when you drive across the city, look for that guy. You'll see him all over. And you'll wonder, how the heck did he get there? But anyway, that's an interesting piece of information that we'll get to. Now, what we're going to show you is a perfect example of Dart's Marine Tower. If you look to your right, the heavy graffiti red guy on there, you'll see it. There's a Marine Tower. So in that tower, in the very center, that's where this conveyor belt will come out. So there's the one on the right, which is fixed to the land, and the one on the left has wheels under it. Here's the evolution. At first, it was fixed to the land, so you'd pull the boat up. If you emptied the front hole, then what you had to do is untie the boat and empty the back hole. So you had to keep moving the boat back and forth. And these ships are long, they're 700 feet long. So eventually we get a little bit smarter, and we decide we're going to leave the boat stay in place, and we're going to move the Marine Tower. So that's why this one has wheels. So what happens is, it takes the grain, corn, whatever you have, it takes it all the way to the top of the silo. You see on top of there where the corrugated metal is? That's called the head house. And then in each silo is the number or letter. So you decide where you're going to store that. So then you know where this material is. Now this is unique where we are because this is Silo City. Have you ever heard of Silo City? Rick Smith from Ridgetized Metal owns these facilities. This is the largest grouping of this type of architecture anywhere in the world. Now what's really unique about this place is you have Peavy Milling on the right where the Marine Towers are. You you have Pearl Malting on the left. In between there, can you see that bridge up in between the two? Now that's very unusual to have different businesses cooperating like this. Pearl couldn't get a marine tower. They didn't have enough room. So once Prohibition ended, what they decided is, we'll make a deal with the flour mill on the right. So when the boat would come in from Perot, they would unload it and shoot it over into this facility so that one could prosper. Now, here at Silo City, we're really lucky. They're developing 1 and 2 apartments, but 2, they have different festivals, and we also have weddings here. Now, I have seen weddings done right about here. And what could possibly not be good in your wedding pictures other than say violators may be prosecuted. Wouldn't that be romantic right there, that sign? So I've seen people do it. So if you want to come down to the water and have your picture taken right on the pier here, we can arrange it. Or if you like, we actually do a silent tour where you could go inside of these facilities and you can see how it actually works. Pretty cool tour. And it actually goes pretty high up in there. So that's a pretty cool tour. To our right, this is called Lake and Rail. This facility just got returned to Rick Smith about 2012, 2015, because this was owned by a group of grain investors, and they would hold the grain till it went up, they'd buy and sell it, but then they went out of business. So this has been all redone. So I know you guys got a lot of summertime, vacation time stuff. So if you want a little hobby work, this is in move-in condition. You could do your own grain importing here. How's that sound? Sure, why not, right? What could possibly go wrong? All right, we're going to go down the river here, and we sight up some different things. Any questions about what we've been through so far? All right, don't worry, we'll give you a break if you want to take just past the Columbia, we'll give you a little break time here. In the meantime, just to explain a few things. If you were in the bottom of the boat and you were a scooper, you had a shovel that was up to maybe hip high, and the actual shovel pan part of it was pretty wide, and your job was to scoop that grain toward this conveyor belt, and there was a lot of dust. Your PPE, your personal protection equipment, was a handkerchief back in the day. So eventually that goes away. If you look at this blue platform with the yellow railing, a series of hoses and vacuums will come out. So that can unload a ship very, very quickly. So that Scoopers Union, by the early 80s, was out of business. It provided employment for many generations, but it's gone. Now, in Buffalo, who here has heard of the Canadiana? Okay, the Canadiana took people from Buffalo, New York to Crystal Beach. Did it for years. Its sister ship is right here, the Columbia. The Columbia took people from Detroit, Michigan to Boblo Island in Canada, along with its sister ship, the LeClaire. Both the LeClaire and the Columbia, when they were taken out of service, were wrapped with plastic and parked along the Detroit River. Now, over time, of course, that plastic all rotted away. So someone got this great idea. We're going to tow the Columbia here. Before they did that, they put over $5 million into putting new motors and engines in there. That's all below the deck line there. So they bring it here to Ridgetide Smith, where Rick Smith's company will work on this. Now, it came here in 2014. How do you like the progress so far? All right, it's a work in progress. You got to see past it. What's unique about this vessel, the way it was designed, where the smokestack is and aft, it's all open in the very center. There's outside supporting beams, but there's none in the middle. So if you want to have dances or large events here, they could put over 3,000 people on this boat, which is unbelievable. The Coast Guard would never allow that now. So they're still working on it. There's a foundation. There's also a video, I think it's called Score the Sky, that was actually filmed on there, so you can check it out. Plus we find our graffiti guy there, so you know, gotta like that. So that's an ongoing project. On the way back, we'll tell you more stories about it. But we'll give you just a couple things here, and then we'll give you a little bit of a break. As we go down the river, Lake Erie is about 23, 25 feet deep. The body of water you're on right now is about 30 feet deep. The reason being, they had to dredge all the poisonous bottom fill and take it to the outer harbor to treat it. So it's very deep here. There were other flour facilities along here. Now, I worked in a flour mill, my father worked in a flour mill, so I keep it saying mills. So let's understand mills, silos, you know what I'm talking about, all right? It's the same. There was one here called the Delwood. It was torn down with the idea we're going to redevelop it. Never happened. If you look along the side banks, particularly on the left, You see that heavy vegetation there? It's long. The problem with that is this. That's not native to this country. That's Japanese knotweed. It goes down 25 to 30 feet deep. It does not overhang the water, so fish, birds can't really nest there. It pushes out all the native vegetation. So with this being invasive, for this body of water is really not good. You know, anywhere this is, it's going to take over. You can see it. It just crowds everything else out. So unfortunately, when you do have boats that come from various destinations, a lot of that will happen. So before we turn, when you have a canal, what's the real disadvantage of having a canal? One of the disadvantages.
Stagnant water.
Stagnant water and wintertime. In the winter, this will all freeze. So what you must have, what really works out, is two things they would do. They would take boats, they'd have them full of grain, they'd park them behind the break wall, and as they need them, the cotter, and there used to be an icebreaker, the ojibwa, would bring them in. But more importantly, what you get is railroad. Buffalo becomes the second largest rail center in the country, only behind Chicago. This is the Frontier Yard. It's still active. Those ties that you see are ones they took out. They're replacing them. They're not doing away with them. So what you're seeing is an active working rail yard, because we have in Buffalo a perfect location between New York City and Toronto. So rail is really big. Now, those of you that live in the suburbs, what suburbs you live in? Like Cheektowaga, anybody out like that? Right out? Okay, you're going the other way. Anybody going Hamburg? Where? NT? Williamsville, okay. Sorry, I'm not meaning to. You can go that way. Take Broadway home. When you get to Broadway and Fillmore, look to your right. It will say the Union Stockyard Bank. It used to be it's marble structure. The second largest stockyards in the country used to be here in Buffalo, believe it or not. That's where the Clinton Bailey Market was. So some of the kind of our past is in that. So we're going to pull up here. We're going to tell you about this. Then we're going to go through the turning basin. You guys got any questions or anything else? You can hear everything. Everything's good. All right. It's a little cooler now, right? All right. Good. All right. On the way back, we'll have a break, like I said. If you'd like to see our bartender Danielle, this is Danielle's last day with us. So, yeah, she's going on to different things. Yeah, I get a picture of her last day here. Right. All right, here we go, back to history. So, on our right-hand side, this is one of two structures that is owned by the city. Everything else, all this other land is privately owned. This is Cargill S. Cargill S, and there's another one out in the outer harbor, Cargill, was a big business here in Buffalo, big grain storage. Now, I talked to you about what was the name of that fish. I told you Brian Soupy Campbell, because what we're going to look at is a certain type of architecture. If you look at these silos, you'll see like white horizontal lines that go all the way up there. Can everyone see those? Kind of whitish lines, white and gray. You can see that. What happens in slip-form construction, you put all this forms in there and you start pouring concrete from the top, and you do not stop until it's finished, okay? It might take you 7 to 10 days. You have to bring it up at a slow, steady pace, even in wintertime, because the concrete, when it's drying and setting up, will generate heat. So you can see all those horizontal lines. So the first one was done in 1925, or 1919, 1925, 1929. Now what you're also seeing, you're going to see all that tar where they filled all those in. Because what happened is, over time, the concrete erodes away because of the water conditions here. It's very harsh. And the rebarb sticks through. So they had to seal that off, because if not, moisture would get in there and create a hot spot, essentially spoiling your product. So that's why you see all this like that. Now, the way this is set up was perfect. Rail cars could come in at the end. You could see these chutes down at the bottom. So a rail car could come in, they divert whatever product they needed into the rail car, they would take it out the yard, and away it would go. So this is an ideal location. Buffalo is big for one reason. You can only go down Niagara Falls how many times? Once, if you're lucky. So that's probably not going to be good for delivering grain. So because of Niagara Falls, all this grain and everything from the Midwest comes here to Buffalo and is stored here. And then it's taken out by the canal, or it's taken out by rail cars. So all these facilities, specifically, unless you're making flour like they did at ADM or at PB Milling where I worked, is storage. Buffalo is known for storage. It's a big deal. And that's why everything is here. That's why everything really booms for us. But as we look straight ahead, right through these trees right in the middle, that's Tesla engineering. So we do have some modern facilities here. They came here with the idea of giving us 1,400 jobs. They got to about 800 and just laid off about 200. So they're still working with us. One of the things we found out coming up here is you can smell Cheerios. Now you know where they come from. The other thing, when you're on the freeway, you always see this bridge straight up in the air, don't you? Everybody, you know the backstory of this? What used to happen is Hannah Coke used to be up there, Republic Steel, this is a big steel area. And then they went out of business. So boats don't need to go up there anymore. So you really need a drawbridge. So the city didn't want to tear it out. They didn't want to rebuild it. So instead, they just jacked it up and welded it that way. And you know what they call it? Urban art. So now you have art on the river, okay? This is a unique place on the river because, see this wide basin? This is one of the very few places on the river that you could actually turn a large boat. This is called the turning basin. If you look to our far right, you'll see a number of pilings that have shrouds on them because there's bird nests there and they don't want other species to go up and raid the nest. So that area has all been cordoned off. You can see there's logs in there. We're trying to encourage, well actually there's a turtle. See that last one on the very back one? On the very top, there's a turtle on top of that. Just check it out. So it's working. You know, we're revitalizing the waterfront. So it's actually very clean. This water hasn't been this clean in over 200 years. Now, if you want to try it out, when you get back on the dock, jump in. But stand a boat now because you get me a lot of trouble if you don't. But it's really clean, it's really good. If you look to our right side, this is called Concrete Central. This was the largest grain storage facility in the country for a number of years. Over 10 million bushels of wheat, barley, whatever you want to be stored in here. In the First and Second World War, it was so important in our food system that it was actually guarded by the Coast Guard, Navy, and the Army. You could not just come up here, all right? It feels a little cooler here now, doesn't it? We're gonna pull up alongside. The very first thing you're gonna see is this is a concrete marine tower. It was permanent. There's also a few other ones. That, and I have you ponder something. Just thinking about, okay, you're on the very bottom of one of these grain elevators, one of these mills, and now you get to the top floor. So I'll ask you again to get up a little further. You're on the bottom, you want to get to the top. How are you going to do that? So just think about it. I'll ask you again in a second or two. And also you get a nice view of the city. All you see is we just bent right around, and there's M&T Bank. A little cooler now, isn't it? All right, as you can see, this also has all the marks of slip form construction. You can see probably the lines a little better here, and you see how close together they are here. Now, what's unique about this location is, one, this is the second facility, second site on this river that's owned by the city. So if you want to buy this one, they're open offers, but it's unique in a way. Besides having this beautiful, beautiful view of the river, you don't have to worry about any snow blowing of your driveway. You know why? This does not have any street access. Its address is 100 the Buffalo River. So how did people get to work? See those docks over there? Back in the day, they would get a guy in a rowboat to take you over for like a nominal nickel. But they didn't do it with two hands. They did it gondola style. Why? You get another guy in there. So they take you back and forth. Now I know what you're going to say. What are they going to do in the winter? And I'll show you that answer in a minute. But in the meantime, okay, we're on the ground floor down there. I got to get way up there. How am I going to do that? How am I doing it? Bunch of stairs? That might take a long time. Anybody else? Elevator and elevator? No. What's that?
Climb?
Pulley? You're actually kind of close. A dumb waiter. I worked there. What are you trying to tell me? All right, here's the way it worked. Now, imagine this. I'm 16 years old. I know that in and of itself is hard to believe. And I'm working with my dad. He's about 5'5", 5'6", weighs about 250 or so pounds. He's got a big stomach, but he paid for it. So now he's going to take me up to the very top there. So what happens is we're walking, and I'm walking with the old boy. All of a sudden, he turns into Gazelle. He takes off. And to my real displeasure, there's a big hole in the floor, and a belt goes by, and it has a strap. And when it gets to your floor, a step from my elbow to my hand pops up. You're supposed to grab this thing and step on, and away you go, like a magic witch. So he jumps on and flips up about 2 floors and yells, "You gotta get on! You gotta get on now, we gotta go to the head house." I go, "Shouldn't we have talked about this? Maybe had a movie or something?" He goes, "No, you need to get on." So I summon up all my courage and I get on and I go by the old boy. He goes like, "You gotta get off. If you get hit on the top, it's gonna split your head. Mom's gonna really be mad." Oh yeah, that's all I'm thinking about right now is mom, So sure enough, I dive off, hit the grain, dust, and slide up to my foreman for 2 weeks. Flipper, that was my nickname. It was awesome. So was it dangerous working in an elevator? Yeah, it was extremely dangerous. Couple things. In Buffalo, we have a bunch of these bridges. They're called a bascule bridge. That huge concrete weight on the left, just a little electricity, tips it right up. So how did they get here if they didn't roll in? They'd park over there, and then they'd run across and go into this facility. And that's how they got to work. And that was real typical. Now, at this end, you can see we have chemical plants. Further upriver, we used to have coal-fired steel plants. We also had on this river, anyone here a Breaking Bad fan? Remember phosphine gas, the first thing they made inside the trailer, inside the RV? Phosphine gas was a poisonous gas. It was produced here in World War I. This is the part that really kills me. No pun intended. The stuff that was not good enough to be a poison gas, they dumped in the river. So it's so bad you can't use it in poison gas, you can dump it in the river. So needless to say, everything was dead. The river caught on fire just 2 times. Cuyahoga did it many more times than us. But they've finally gone through and they've cleaned it. They've cleaned it so much, the EPA finished a study that they started about 15 years ago. They start getting fish all the way down from the top, all the way down to the ground level. And now, 2 years ago, they said, anything you catch in here, you can eat. All right, so it is clean. The water hasn't been this clean at all. Probably 200 years. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, we put in at near Clinton and Harlem, we put in canoes and kayaks, and we kayaked all the way down here. So it's really quite a ride. All right, now we're going to go back in time. We're going to tell you a shipwreck story in 3 parts. How's that? This is good. This is part 1. Who remembers January 21st, 1959? Nobody ever does. I can't even. All right, on that day, on television at 9 o'clock was the Maverick Brothers. How do I know that? I did an exhaustive search, and I didn't even know the Maverick Brothers didn't exist, but they were on TV at that time. Along here, at that January time, is a boat, over 500 feet long. It's called the Shirus. It's moored up here full of grain, and it's pointing backwards. Now, all the mooring lines, 32 of them, are tied up, because this thing's tied here, and it's going to be tight. No one's on it. It's all alone. In Buffalo, we have a lot of thaws and freezes, and that happens. So it thaws out, ice comes down there, gets in between. When it freezes, it expands. It does that numerous times, and eventually what happens, we have a very bad freeze. It breaks all the mooring lines. It breaks loose and starts heading downriver, backwards, all by itself. Now our captain, Captain Greg, can navigate this place blindfolded. He promised me today he wouldn't. Now this ship is doing it by itself, and it's heading toward the city. So that's part 1. You got a ship on the loose heading toward the city. So I'll leave you with that. However, now it's the part where you participate. Let's look to our right-hand side. There's various lumps of material. Anyone know what those are? What that is?
Mulch.
Mulch. Very, very close. It's a real specific kind of mulch. One that you may have paid an attraction fee to see. That is from a company, and you can look this up. It's called Zoo Poo. That poo is from the Buffalo Zoo. They also do that in Dallas. So if you get just the right day and a hot day and a nice strong wind, it's very fragrant. You can look it up. I've asked them to send me some promotional bags so I can have to show people. It's $65 a bag, which I think is ridiculous. But, I used to say, okay, that one's elephant, there's zebra back there. But you're paying a fee to fund their business, So business is picking up, as they say. On a hot day, that really does smell. All right, we're going to do a couple things, then we'll give you a little break here. As we go around the turning basin on the right-hand side, you'll see there's some ducks and there's some logs embedded into the bottom of the lake here. The reason we did that, we're doing some reclamation of the waterfront. What they did is they drove those pilings of logs so fish can nest. You can see the birds are there, and they cleaned up a lot of the knotweed and all that. So this area is now accessible to wildlife. So we do see deer, foxes, different things. So like I say, the water being cleaned, that's one thing. Now we're going to take you around the corner. I'm going to tell you why the pilings are there, and then we're going to give you an idiom. What's an idiom? I had an 8-year-old that knew the answer to this yesterday. It blew me away. It really happened. He sat right here. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was talking to young Sheldon. I'll tell you what, an idiom's like a saying that means something different. But yeah, it was amazing. I go, what's an idiom? This kid goes, I know. It's like, okay. I'll tell you what it means in a minute. But, however, if you look on the right-hand side, there's pilings driven into the river. They've been there for over 100 years. As long as wood is covered by water, it will not rot. That's why Venice hangs around, so to speak. So that wood has been covered for over 100 years by water. Now, there would be so many boats on this body of water, they would actually go from shore to ship to ship to ship to ship, actually to shore. You could walk across here. It was so busy at times. So those have been there for over 100 years. So now I'm going to give you the idiom, and then we'll give you a break. So if you want to go to the restroom, get a drink, this is Daniela. So, what does it mean when it says you're on the wagon? What does that mean? Not drinking. Okay, that's part of the answer. Here's the way it really works. Back in the 1700s in London, if you were convicted of a crime and you were about to meet your maker, be executed, they'd put you on a wagon, they'd take you past Mary Queen of Sorrows, the church, and they'd stop at a pub. And you got one last drink. If someone come up and said, like, hey, can I buy you a drink? They say, oh no, I'm sorry, he's on the wagon. That meant one drink and you're done. So being on the wagon, that's what it really meant, that you had one drink before you met your maker. So we're going to go around the corner, and at that point we'll pick up about the Columbia, so you have a little bit of a break time. You guys want to visit the restroom or anything, or if you have any questions, perfect time. All right? Okay. Let's see what everyone's doing downstairs. How's it going down here? Good, good. Can you hear all right? Everything's good? All right, all right. How's it going? All right? I didn't want you to. I forgot about you guys. You warm enough? Warm enough? Yeah. Okay, it's not too bad. You left us up. That's good. All right, good. All right. Just want to be sure. All right. Okay. You guys going to get something to eat later? Do you have a picnic at work? What time's that at? Right after this? That's a nice day. Well, I'll tell you a place to go that I like. It's right in the first word. It will be a little cooler when we get out of the water too. That one really picked up, didn't it? See, it was at our backs before, so it wasn't so bad. I can never know how to dress. Like I have two different jackets downstairs. I have a windbreaker. No, I've got nothing. You've probably been on that boat. You went to Bob Lloyd? Good for you. You think you're on that boat? Probably you were on that if you took a boat. The Irish area. That's where the Shamrock Run goes, right here. That's about mile 3. You've run it, right? No? Well, I know it really well because I have. That's about mile 3 or so. I can't wait to finish at that point. You're going this way. Again, a heavily Irish area. Matter of fact, if we look straight, what happens is this. I got to kind of play the wind here a little bit. The Shiras, let me just get out of this wind so you can actually hear me. Yeah, all right, let's get down here. All right, the Shiras is coming down river. It's all dark, okay? It's totally blacked out. It's coming down the river by itself. Now this Irish guy, he's over there watching TV, and he looks up and he sees a ship going backwards, and he goes, oh my God, holy ship, right, there you go. You can't do that with 5th graders. Holy shit, something's going on here. You know, this can't be right. I got to do something. So he goes running down the street, hoping to get a bunch of guys, maybe get a garden hose and lasso it, I don't know, but he's going to get some help. Now, what's been going on is the Shirus has been making all these turns backwards, going down the river empty, right? What could possibly go wrong? Well, what happens is this. Remember a long, long time ago, we talked about Archer Daniel Midland. Remember Midland, Texas, that story? They make flour. And we said, where do they store their grain? Guess where they store their grain? Right there. See these cars right here? What they're going to do is they're going to unload the grain in here, put it in these rail cars, and they're going to take it around the city to Archer Daniel Midland. So their grain is stored here. What is also happening, right about where that first marine tower is, there's another large grain boat. It's called the Tewksbury. It's loaded with grain to be worked on. So the Shirus has made all these turns, and what do you think it does now? Goes and hits the Tewksbury, knocks it off its mooring, and like two teenagers in love, it's heading to Buffalo. Now what may be the problem? The bridge. Luckily, the bridge is in the upright position for winter repairs. And there's more. The Tewksbury has a night watchman stationed on it just for such an emergency. However, it's January 21st, 1959. It's past 10 o'clock. The Maverick brothers are over. Just think of yourself as a guard there. What would you do? Go to bed.
Yep.
Or what else would you might do? Drink.
Drink.
Okay, third option, go to your girlfriend's house. And away he goes. Now the two boats hit, and they're heading downriver. So they're going to head downriver. We'll pick up the story. Before we engage the noise that we're about to hear, I'm going to explain what's going on. When you work in one of these flour facilities, the most dangerous thing out there is dust. It's bad for your lungs. It's highly combustible. The noise that you're going to hear is they're purifying the air. You're taking all that dust, all that explosiveness out. When I worked here, there were 3 animals that we saw in abundance. 3 animals. What do you think they are? Let's go bigger than that. Rats. Another one. Pigeons. And one last one that to this day I couldn't believe it, were pheasants. We saw tons of pheasants. People would be hunting them and couldn't find them. They're in our parking lot. All right, we're going to go into the bridge. Safe rules apply. We stay down. And we're ready to go. We'll get the break.
This is the fun part. Yep. You literally, if you raised your hand, you could touch the top of it.
The light is like right next to you there.
Yep.
I was kidding when I said I was well, didn't you?
Low bridge.
Just like they used to do back in the 1800s, low bridge. So you have a bunch of 5th graders on here, and you tell them, you can't touch the bridge, you got to stay down low. These kids did this. They all
Jumped up.
No, they all laid down on their back and took their phones out and were taking pictures. Like, how did your consciousness all connect at that moment that they did? It was really cool. So anyway, that noise was specifically to take all that dust and everything out. That's how I can tell that place is working. Because when you're moving that grain around, even though those are made out of concrete, the dust is still combustible. It's still very bad for your lungs. So that's what's going on. If you look to the right here, this is Bison City Rod and Gun Club. The city has 2 pistol ranges. One's in the police academy and one's here. There's about a 2-year waiting list because it has really good fish fry and a huge beer for a couple bucks. They were the first people to come down to the river. What used to happen when you worked at the grain mill or you were an iron worker, when you retired, what they'd have a big party for you, all right? And they'd have it in places like this to give you a big shot of money when you retired. So that was the retirement fate. If you look to our left, in the very distance there, on the left-hand side, see those big mounds of sand? You're going to see a lot more of that because we have 2 big cement plants here. That sand is made in making cement. Now, just from yesterday alone, those piles have gone down a lot. There's one kind of we just passed. There's one right to us to our left side. Now, what happens is that sand primarily comes from Michigan. It's freshwater sand. It's really difficult to get, because of climate change. So we're really lucky here that we have a pretty steady supply. As you drive now, when you drive the Skyway, you look for that, and you're going to see those piles are going to go up and down really fast because they're using so much concrete for the stadium. And that's going to draw a lot of it. Now, we're into the wind, so if you can't hear me, I'll try to shield this. As we go down river here,
Smell the
we're going to
Cheerios.
pass the park.
Smell the
It's going to be on
Cheerios.
the right-hand side. This park's name is called Father Conklin Park. All right? He was a priest. His name was Father Conklin. He was a South Buffalo priest. He was in World War II. He was on the Indianapolis. I don't know if you know the story about the Indianapolis. It was sunk in 1945 because it was delivering the last pieces they needed for the atom bomb. It was on a secret mission. It was all by itself. It was torpedoed and sank. Now, unfortunately, 1,200 men went in the water, and Father Conklin was one of them. After 3 days, they picked up about 300 people, 300 people. He was not one of them. This park that we're right on our right side right now, these people are fishing, that's Father Conklin Park. Now, on this body of water, I told you there's 4,000 or 5,000 ships or more a month. I'm talking huge ships. So what happens is, you see where this inlet is? That's all the bridges. It's all blocked up. What you don't get a good picture of is from here all the way back to where you get on the boat would be full of canals because we have to get all these small boats out. So we need a storage area. We need a way to navigate them back down the river. You can't use them here as much because they're going to be in the way. So there used to be over 30 acres or more of canals. So over time, the canal is not used as much. So now what happens is we're going to use Frank Lloyd Wright again. They tear down the administration building here in Buffalo. And what they did with that debris is they used it to fill in some of those canals. So in about 1,000 years, an archaeologist is going to come up and say like, oh, they had this awesome building here. And it's actually going to be filled. Smell the Cheerios. Now you can smell them. I think those...
You couldn't smell them before, really.
I couldn't get it before. It just, the wind's got to be right. Yeah. I think we're getting it now. I think those are actually Honey Nut Cheerios. Yeah. Yesterday they had a different. Anyone try that? They have the Chex peanut butter one. You try that one yet? Chex peanut butter. That's pretty good. That's the new one. Like I said, I got that in my care package. All right. As we go further down river, who's been to Resurgence? Have you been to Resurgence Brewing? Okay. You got to remember, at this body of water, there would be tons of industry. There'd be support companies around here, ship chandleries, everything else. There is a place right below where it says Resurgence in the middle. See the middle building? Right across the front of it, it will say EB Homes. You can barely make it out. EB Homes Machinery. So that was a machine shop. Before that, they made barrels. Now, before Resurgence came in here, the middle building sat all by itself, and it sat vacant. I had 3 women on here last 2 years ago or so, and the one was just poking the other and pointing at that and laughing. I go, all right, what's the deal? She goes, my husband wanted to buy that Homes building for years, could have got it for a song. And I told him it was worthless, it would never be worth anything. She goes, needless to say, he won't be coming on the tour. All right, now, let's pick up with our story. But first and foremost, who knows what the oldest bar in Buffalo is? Swanee House is 2, okay? This is the second oldest one right there, all right? So, why, right behind, there's the green tree. It's right to the right of it. It's barely covered. This place that we're immediately passing on our right side, that's the Tewksbury. It's like a meeting center. Okay. At either end of it, you can see the concrete impression of a boat. So that's the actual Tewksbury. Now, how does the Tewksbury really immortalize itself? So what happens is these 2 ships that were meshed up together are coming down river. Remember those Irish guys we talked about a long time ago? Well, they've run all the way now to the Swanee House. And they get to the bridge tenders a little after 11. And they say to them, you've got to do something. There's 2 ships coming this way. And they go like, there's no way. And they look outside. And they say, just like you did before, holy shit. So they try to raise the bridge, but they don't get it up in time. So what happens is the Tewksbury hits right at the corner. The deck comes down on the Tewksbury. The Shire swings around and blocks the entire river. It floods it all the way back to South Buffalo. So all that's flooded. But for today's story, I'm going to give you an extra. Guess what's happening on the second floor of one of those buildings? Guess what's going on? Sure, a woman's having a baby, she is. So they sent for a doctor and a nurse and a rowboat. Could you imagine that deductible? And she has a little girl. And what do you think they named the little girl? Swanee? No, they named her Flo, like the river. no, they named her Flo. That's, of course, that's total BS, right? All right. But it is a true story, and we're ready to go underneath. What happens is it does flood the river. It goes all the way back. Now, what's interesting about this whole thing is this goes to court. And what happens is the night watchman, remember him? He has to provide a witness as to where he is. So what would be his natural witness to bring in? The girlfriend, right? Or it might be another one. His wife. And that is a true story. So his wife didn't know he had a girlfriend until the case. Here's a boat we know. How you doing? That's our big Kahuna Tiki tours. Now, if you just want to go and drink but not have this, you can do that. We're good with that. Also, what you can do is we do different things. You could be at a boat, like I'm going to do one on 21st where we're going to actually provide entertainment. So we can do different things for you. All right, we're going to slide on the bridge here. Looks lower than normal, doesn't it? For those of you who need a haircut, this might be your chance.
It's not that low.
That's pretty low. If it rains later today, that's different, isn't it? All right, let's talk about the Swanee house as soon as we get rid of this. That's the Swanee house on the right back there. Ulrich's is the oldest. Ulrich's is the oldest. That's the second oldest, okay? Ulrich's. All right, I'm going to wait till we get by this noise, then I'll explain some other things to you. Yeah, slow. Same with that. Same with Swanee house actually wasn't going to be closed for a while, but somebody else took it over. Because the current owner died unexpectedly. And somebody else grabbed it.
I got General
As soon as we
Mills
get down
all the
right
way
from
down.
this noise,
Yeah, we're going
start
this
getting
way.
narration again. Well, you got to remind me. I got to tell you about a restaurant to go to. I can't believe I didn't tell you that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna take you. Like wings? Yeah. Okay, I got the spot for you. As soon as I get rid of this noise, pick it up. We get out of the lake. Try to find some smooth water. Take some pictures. All right, the Swanee house. Let me tell you a story about the Swanee house. This is really cool. This used to be a super heavy industrial kind of seedy area. Population about 90% Irish. Okay, so two guys own that bar and own all the drinking rights in here. All the drinking distribution rights are with the two guys, Williams and Sinerski. So your names are Williams and Sinerski. You own a bar. I want you to really think about this. In a heavy Irish area, what would you name your bar? What? O'Mara, O'Suckman, O'Reilly, somebody, right?
Yeah.
O'Sullivan. Would you name it Sinerski's? Of course not. So what happens is all of the Irish guys get mad. They go, you're insulting our heritage. Yeah, I'm sure they said that back then. So they get mad about it. And they go, well, we're going to go on protest. We're on boycott. And Williams and Sinerski said, go right ahead. We own all the distribution rights. You drink here or you drink nowhere. So being Irish like we are, we're stubborn. We go on strike for 3.5 days. That's 3.5 days when you're Irish, all right? Go back and they name it the Swanee House. Everything is good. Then Williams dies and Sinerski dies. And their kids take over this Irish bar. It is heavy, like industrial, kind of dangerous area. So what do you think they did with the bar? They sold it. Importantly, what did you do with the money from the bar, the money that you got from Sinerski's? What did you do with it? Anybody? You just got a bunch of money and sold the bar. What did you do? Get another bar, right? How about this? Starting Women's and Children's Hospital right here in Buffalo.
Oh, nice.
Story. So the kids that sold the bar, sold way back, they actually funded Women's and Children's Hospital. Yeah. So this is the third generation. This is the third different owner, actually fourth. So other people have bought it over the years. Pretty good, but this is I don't get paid anything for this. I don't get anything at all. I'll give it my personal recommendation. Hey, buddy, what's up? Give me that. All right. If you want good wings, if you want just good food in general, in South Buffalo, go to this place. 5 255 South Park. It's an Irish bar. It's called Adolph's. Maybe not the most Irish name. That's just the way we are down here. But the wings are awesome. They're good. It's super good.
It might get a little 50 short. But
Sorry?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, really better. So it's really, really good. And the best thing about Adolph's I like, if the wings are $14, they don't charge you tax. It's all in. Right across the street from Adolph's is Carbone's. So if you want good pizza, they have that. A block, not even a block down from Adolph's, you can see it, is Mazar's Bakery. So you can cover all different Buffalo stuff, one stop, right down the street. Really, really good. So let's talk about the bust of Buffalo. So Buffalo, like I say, is a storage town. We're here to store things. So unfortunately, we have a little brother that we just want to smack him around. You know what the little brother is we call it down here? Canada. Because Canada wants to build the St. Lawrence Seaway. And if they build the St. Lawrence Seaway, you don't need to stop here. Because things are going good for Buffalo. We're the 8th largest city in the country. More millionaires per capita than anyone. Delaware Avenue, that's part of Millionaires Road. Right? More churches per capita than anyone else. And more bars per capita than anyone else. We'll get you a job, we'll get you drunk, we'll clean the slate all in one place. So what happens is, once they build the St. Lawrence Seaway, you don't need to stop here in Buffalo. So all these facilities start closing. And that starts the bust of Buffalo. Bethlehem Steel goes out of business. Republic Steel, the city shrinks. Now we've gone up, actually population's gone up 3 or 4% the last couple of times. So the city's doing a really nice job of reinventing itself. So you're going to see as we get out there that we're in another ideal location for something else. If you look along just on the right side, just sort of past it, see that big American flag back there? That's actually where Joseph Dart's elevator was. So along this area that we're passing on our right, you have to remember, back in the day, that was all full of dirty coal facility. So this area was really dirty and grimy and super industrial. It wasn't like this at all. There's actually 3 islands in here that they dredged out. So this really changed. But remember, when we started this story, this body of water was only, 20 feet wide, 25 feet wide, 3 feet deep. So they constantly keep dredging this out. What they create, if you look at our left side, this peninsula that is now a Coast Guard station, that was made from what they dredged out of the river here, okay? That lighthouse is on its original foundation from 1833. Now, I haven't been out there in about a year or so. You used to be able to go to the Coast Guard station there, press what looked like a doorbell, and someone would come and let you go out there. Now, they did do some remodeling. I don't know if you can do that any longer. I'll have to go out there. But at the time, you could just run right out there. So what they've been doing is working on the lighthouse so you could actually go up inside of it. All right? So we're really lucky here in Buffalo because Pizza Hut came to town. You see straight ahead with that red building. It's very convenient for porters. You can walk one side through the pile up and get on the other side. Actually, that's our water intake. 125 million gallons of clean water a day comes through that facility. It used to actually be manned by 2 people. They have to stay out there for 3 weeks at a time. Now it's totally automated, but it's environment. So we're going to go out and got a little put it in there.
Yep.
You can never tell how to dress out here. Once you get out here, it's different. Now, one of the other big industries we had here in Buffalo was prohibition. When you were in prohibition times here in Buffalo, it's a great location. You know why? Canada is straight ahead. Also, if you look to our right, that bridge over there, that's the Peace Bridge. You see that big bridge over there? It was built in 1927 in 237 days. You know why? We needed the booze. Prohibition was still going on. That was the quickest way to get stuff here. So it was done really quickly. We were so close to Canada that what they used to do is hire teenagers to roll things over. And the reason is this. The authorities thought that prohibition would be enforced by local law enforcement. We had a mayor here, Mayor Swab, that had nothing to do with prohibition. You know why? He was himself a brewer. He had his own brewery. He was arrested twice for making beer. So then he decided to run for mayor on one platform. I'm not going to do anything with prohibition, and he didn't. So it was awesome. So when they said people who didn't live in Buffalo, when they would see kids rolling homes, they thought, well, that's not. The other thing is that when people realize Canada's straight ahead, and Fort Erie is right out there. And Fort Erie is a famous smuggling town because they would smuggle people back and forth across the country. And when prohibition came, farmers would rent their barns out and they would store booze there. And then they would take it to Grand Island. And why did they take it to Grand Island? Take it behind it. Now we'll go on a little bit. Try to find some smooth water and we'll turn around and see if we go. Kind of the cityscape, we'll point out some things. That's good. All right, I'll take it. All right, if you look to our left, you'll see there's like a little, kind of like almost like a tower there. There's a bunch of seagulls, and you see that white structure there. There actually used to be a lighthouse that was on here, and it was hit by a freighter, and it knocked it down to about a 30-some degree angle, so they had to take it out. So there was actually a lighthouse here. These break walls, like I said, Lake Erie is super, super shallow. So what would happen back in the day, the wind would come up and push the water to one end of the lake, and then when the water would simmer down, it was like, we call it tsunami, they call it a seiche. It would come through and flood the entire city. And where that peninsula was, where people were living, they were kind of squatters, when the water retreated back, basically it would take them right over Niagara Falls. Because you got to remember, you got Buffalo Creek is that way, Buffalo River, you got the Niagara River, and you have Lake Erie. So all this water is kind of merging together in this area. That's why you'll see different colors. Now the Captain Fund is a really great spot. So we turn around, if anybody wants, we're gonna spin around. If you want your pictures taken up front here, I'll take some snaps because we're gonna show you. That's M&T Bank.
I'm gonna get you for
fourth largest.
What? What I do? Oh, the
outside,
soup. It wasn't my idea. Talk to Joy. I didn't recommend this.
Also our City Hall on the far left there.
Oh, she's coming upstairs.
Art Deco to the max, as you can see.
Somebody look at this
So
song.
let's do this. Anybody want their pictures up here? Don't be shy. Come on up. I'll take your picture. Anybody? I'm really good at this. No. Wife approved, actually.
Take your picture. You're all set.
I can do it this way. Here, you want to just...
Well, this is a movie, so y'all can just talk and all that other stuff.
Oh,
It's not actually a picture. It's part of the movie.
all right, ready?
So y'all can talk, move around, do whatever you want to do.
There you go. It's a good picture. Anybody else want their picture here? Got your phone. Here's your chance. You got a nice smooth spot here.
Okay.
You guys are going to have to get together way tighter than that.
Down in front, like,
Whose phone is this? Here, can you open it up a little bit? It's kind of a small screen there. It's got a wide screen.
Yeah.
You can move these chairs anyway. You got a wide screen there? All right, wait, here, I got to go. Okay, we got more. Move those chairs out anyway. Act like you own the place. There you go.
I should have brought something up here.
All right, if I hear a splash, then I went back to the bar. Ready, steady. That's really actually good. Who's got a fireplace at home? I want this on your mantle for Christmas time.
Beautiful.
All right, awesome. That came out really good. All right, brilliant. Anyone else I missed or anybody? You want yours there? I'll get yours. All right, here you go.
nice, thank you.
All right, the dearest of friends we have.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, you know the Skynet looks awesome. Wait, we gotta do it this way. That is cool. sky behind it. You got to. Oh, that's. Oh, let's try one more. Oh, that's a great one. Oh, that's a keeper. Yeah, that's a really nice picture. Yeah, with the background, it's really nice. Yeah, that's a good picture.
That's what I bought him in Barbados.
You're welcome. All right, what's cool about M&T Bank, when they bought that, revitalized it, they painted it this weird color that no one could figure out. So I dug. And the reason, oh, you got to go.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You want to be in there? Yep, sure.
Well, we weren't prepared, you know.
Oh, that's better. There you go.
But I enjoyed it too when we were on a cruise. I could have.
I want to do one.
That's a good picture. That's a good background.
Yeah, the clouds are perfect for this. There you go. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah.
And I know that.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, back to M&T Bank.
Don't tell me to think.
I mean, much cooler.
I thought that was a weird color they painted this bank. I couldn't understand it, so I actually went on a tour there. You could go on a tour, and I asked them a bunch of questions.
Oh, I love it.
And the reason they painted it that color
It's amazing.
is the Guarantee Building was the first skyscraper in Buffalo, and it was painted that color, and that's why this building is painted that color. Smile, like you mean it. Check that out. You know what? Let's do one this way. Yeah, let's do this. I gotta get you back in here. There you go. Oh, that's good. Yeah, stay in there. Smile, sir. You're having a good time. Remember, the best things in life are free. There you go. Perfect. What's the most expensive thing in the world? One was free for the evening. There you go. All right. Now, let's all look to the left here. Everybody see those masks in the middle of the parking lot? You know what that is? That's Erie Basin Marina. Remember Mayor Jimmy Griffin? Have a six-pack and stay home. Jimmy Griffin had a vision. He said, listen, what we're going to do, we're going to give people access to the water, and we're going to get rid of all that scummy old industrial stuff. So they tore that all out. And what they did is they dredged out the Erie Basin Marina in the shape of a buffalo, no less. There's only one disturbing fact. All the boats are going out the buffalo's butt. You can look that up, true story. Now, what I always think about every time I go by here, I always look to my left, and I finally look at one of the buildings here. You can just barely catch a glimpse of it over here. We're coming just past these buildings here. If you go to Templeton Landing, it's down here. It's a nice little walk throughout the marina. The juicery's down the left there. But more importantly, right back in amongst there, you're going to see some structures. And here, just past it, there's one that had a really nice, there was one back there, a townhouse had a really, really, really nice orange awning. You just probably didn't see it, went by in just a second. It's right on the water, just had new windows put in, and it sold for $4.5 million. You know how I know that? It's my ex-wife's it was. That's why she's there and I'm here. No, this is a sad story, that's all. All right, did you guys have a good time out here?
Yeah.
All right, good deal. Glad you came out. All right, my name is Bruce. I was your host. Thank you very much. If you did have a good time, give us a thumb up on TripAdvisor. My name is Bruce. If you didn't have a good time, my name is Ian. No, we don't even have anyone named Ian that works for us. All right, I want to thank Daniela. It's her last day with us today, and of course, Captain Greg always does a super job getting us through there. And remember, guys, I always tell people, the wind and waves can rock your boat, but only y'all can tip your crew. I'll see you down there. Tell all your friends, if you had a good time, please exaggerate. I don't mind. Cheers. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming out. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but see now I couldn't hear that well down saying, but I can get, yeah, but did he say a lot of the broken down facilities were owned by the government?
I don't think he said that.
Some of that. There was some of that said he said it's owned by the government.
Okay. Yeah. I think there was one building he talked about that. Yeah. Yeah, there's no wind.
When they turn.
Because the wind is at our back right now. It's actually getting hot up here.
I know. Is this person kayaking by?
Yeah, she has a dog in there too.
Oh, okay.
See the dog?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I saw her getting into the water with the dog back over there. I have that on tape.
Sorry, she must got him trained real good.
He trained or he's scared shitless, one of the two. I'm batting on the last one myself.
I guess Chico's gonna pick us up. Do you know?
Yeah, Chico's coming to pick us up and take us somewhere to get lunch. Chico better come pick us up. My water bottle's in there. Or else we have to remember what he said about them restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah, not to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly 12.
Yeah, I think we did come at the right time. Now.
Yeah.
Even though my buddy's gonna kill me. Is she still up here? No, not. For her coming up here. The what? It is a little bit. Not a whole bunch though.
You know, all that stuff. I won't get on that one.
All right, we'll get it on video. We'll decide later. All right, so guys, did you enjoy yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Turn around and look.
Yeah, it's a talkie. So.
I enjoyed myself tremendously, and I'm thanking John for being here and capturing our attendance in this great event. And thank you, Joy, for this opportunity.
All right, everyone, it'll take
Okay.
us just a second to get our lines secure to the dock.
All righty.
Gates open to get you off here safely. How about that? 200 years in an hour and a half.
I'll tell them to say something.
How about it for your tour guide, your storyteller, Bruce?